We're going to utilize that for business and or real estate, right?
Uh-huh.
You're gonna now just one thing. These mics, you're gonna want to
Yeah,
come in a little bit
yeah.
closer on there to make sure.
Like
we
how
get the
how
quality
close? Like
feed.
right there?
Yeah, you're good
Okay.
with that. You comfortable that way though?
Oh, okay.
You can position that thing, man. Like
Yeah.
that stand is pretty flexible and just get comfy.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah, I'm getting really good feed on your mic, so you're.
this a little better.
Yeah, man. So
Okay.
so like going back to it though, yeah, I remember back when I got into it, this was like internet was still dial up for lack of a better term. Really, they were just coming out with that high speed stuff that they called Roadrunner.
Yes.
Remember that?
Time Warner.
Yeah, man. And it was like that was the bomb diggity, right? But it was expensive as crap, so not a lot of companies
Yes.
were getting it. So yeah, nobody really kind of foresaw how they were gonna get into the real estate or mortgage space with the web or anything like that. Nowadays, forget about it, dude. I mean, it's everywhere. Like I go to Realtor.com every time I turn around just to see what's available in the area.
Well, I think Web 1.0 couldn't have handled what. Well, obviously, it's different stages of the evolution of the software and stuff like that. The way we interact with the websites. The original stuff was just a directory, or it was just basic information. I don't know. There was too much, like I understand why it is now, but I just feel that it's really empowering and it's crazy because I'll have clients call me, and that's great because obviously I can't know about every home now. I think
Sure.
The last 2 months reports, there was 600 and I think 800 homes listed respectively. So you can't know about every home in every city,
No.
every price range. So it's interesting now that these clients, they call you, they know more information than you
Right.
than you do about the home.
Well, and now too, like these websites are digging deeper, and like I'm seeing where they're really digging into, okay, what's the neighborhood around the home like? What's the school district, right? Because I know, like when we were looking for houses in Austin when we were moving, yeah, we were, okay, this school district is AAA, or this is the crime rate, or whatever, and I think now the power of information is just it's beautiful thing for real estate.
It only helps the market, and you know what? I'm very pro consumer.
Right.
And I don't know, obviously I'm a realtor. This is what I do. This is my bread and butter. I've been doing it almost 5 years. I don't know if I'm going to have a position in 10 years from now. I really don't. And I think there will be to a degree. I think it's going to change even more so because in the 5 years I started, my role has changed so dramatically,
Yeah.
I feel, from the whole process. I mean, there's just so much automation now that I've seen and information. So it's really interesting. What are your thoughts on that?
Dude, they are there's a lot of people scratching their head and wondering what the future is going to look like, not only for real estate but even for mortgage lending. You know what I mean? Like you see the Quicken Loans and
The AI too, huh?
the AI that they're starting to talk to. Our company was approached by IBM to work with what's their supercomputer? Not Samson, something else. I'll remember the name and post it. But yeah, I mean, like AI, the future of technology. Like, is the loan officer going to become obsolete? Is what I've heard, and I think the short answer to that is no. I really don't, and I really don't think the real estate person or the real estate agent is going to become obsolete either, because it's still a people business at the end of the day. Like people
There's
they're still going to
emotion.
want human interaction. Now, honestly, if it ever did go to that, to where everybody bought stuff off a bot, or off a website with no human interaction, I think you're talking still far enough down the road. Guys like you and me are going to be nice and retired and dead and gone. You know what I mean? So, like, am I going to encourage my kids, like, hey, go into real estate or mortgage lending? I don't know. Maybe. But I think that there will be an evolution. I just don't think you can totally take the human aspect out of it.
I think right now, right now with the promise of that stuff, and the promise I'm using air parentheses.
He's doing the air quotes, baby.
Air quotes. I think every job's on the chopping block right now, potentially. I mean, there's so much stuff that can be automated, even medicine, law.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's just going to see how far it's going to go. And going back to how it used to be with the information, the gatekeepers, things like that. Really, one of the things I wanted to talk about was really just kind of maybe publicly address. I don't really get a chance to talk much about this 4% program that I run. Just the theory behind it. When I got into it, and I don't know if you know what that is. I'm talking about. Do you?
Enlighten the audience.
I sell homes for 4% flat fee.
Okay.
It's a full service premium package now.
Gotcha.
Obviously, it's a big difference than the traditional. Again, not that it's fixed or anything like that, but average 5 to 6% that most realtors charge. But it came about actually because of looking at this chain of events that's led to the evolution of the role of a realtor. That made me realize that maybe it made me question, maybe the 6% is a relic of the past, when they really were doing a lot more than we do now. And I'm not trying to downplay anything like that. I know we work very hard for what we do. That's a understated truth. But I feel like maybe there was a value that when I started walking backwards, I found that I could offer the same service for a cheaper price
at a
reduced cost, because I started evaluating. I said, okay, I'm using this technology, this conversion software, these softwares, things like that maybe, I factored in the actual costs. And when I was able to look at it at my bottom line, I said, my eyes popped. I said, wow, I'm able to be competitive, still make a good living, and offer a service that I feel is competitive, if not better, than most of the people that are on, in the same market as me.
Right.
So it was really interesting, and just seeing how that goes. And now later on, I don't know, this is why just evaluating it with a fresh set of eyes. It's cool that you say that maybe we may be around in 50 years, the position.
I mean, I just can't imagine that much of the population getting to a point where they just don't need any human interaction. I just don't. Like, I see technology as being a tool, and that's one of the things our company is really tripling down on this year, is technology. And we hired a new chief technology officer named Henry Santos. Very smart dude. I mean, this guy's thinking on 5 levels above whatever I can imagine. You know what I mean? As far as the way that they're going to kind of parlay technology into our industry and our company. But that being said, still has to be the human aspect of the transaction, right? Like, there still has to be somebody who can answer the questions. The robots can't answer all the questions, at least not yet.
I agree, and I feel that's the shift now that's happened, is that more so than ever, it's shifted from an information industry to one of personality. And that's why you're doing this thing, like the podcast, and it's a great thing because it brings value. It gets people, it gives people a chance to understand you and me a little bit better,
right? Because
it's all about personality. People want to work with people that they like, and so I agree completely with that.
Yeah, and until the human race as a whole gets desensitized enough. To me, it's like a world without human interaction like that of the loan officer. It reminds me of that cartoon back in the day, Wall-E. Remember that?
Yeah.
Where the people are on the ship and
is that really back in the day? Wow, that's.
Dude, I'm sorry, bro, but yeah, it's pretty back in the day.
It's a good movie.
It is, man. I love it, and I didn't care for it much when it came out because obviously the robot just beeps and boops, but I mean, dude, when you really get to the core of the story, it's a great story, right?
It's chilling.
And the thing of it is it goes back to that interaction. Even the robot needed interaction with the other robot. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think, at least my personal opinion is, I don't think the human race as a whole could ever get to the point where it could just totally negate that, because you still have to have rapport. You still have to have trust. How are you going to trust the computer that much?
And you know what? It's cool when you mention that, because now in my head I'm thinking about there's a lot of great agents out there. There are.
Sure.
And there's a lot of agents who really respect, and I'm actually making now a kind of a correlation between that, their personality Some of these agents like Daniel Garza, I really respect him. He's out there doing a lot of teacher stuff, but he's out there and he seems very personable, nice guy. Like, great guy. Rick Benavides, he's out there too.
Dude,
Stephanie
Rick's
Wilson,
hustling, man.
Yeah,
I interviewed Rick a while back. He was one of my earlier episodes.
that's the one I actually maybe reached out to you after
was
I saw.
it?
Yeah, because I think you was at episode 3 or something like that.
Rick's one of those guys. He's out there hustling. And then, of course, man, I'm seeing you everywhere now. Like, everywhere, every time I jump on, it's like, dude, you're doing another video. You're out there, you're popping, you're doing your open houses. And I think that's awesome. Because for an area like McAllen, Texas, who, let's be honest, dude, I grew up in Laredo. I lived in the valley for 8 years también, right? So, like, for me, I remember making the joke back in the day, like, oh, yeah, we're like 10 years behind everybody. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I think that curve has gotten shortened, but there's still a resistance to technology or a resistance to certain things, I think, in the culture of the Rio Grande Valley that is barely starting to like go to the next level.
It's starting to thaw. I'm starting to see it, and I'm a big person or a big proponent of always trying to be ahead of the curve, and it's starting to thaw. I'm starting to see. I barely started my media outreach when I first joined Borderplex. I'm now with EXP, but I joined Borderplex maybe last year. I started doing that because I felt that was the future. Mm-hmm. The drone videos and things like that, because I always look to bigger cities to see what they're doing.
Right.
We're always a little bit behind. And I feel like, pushing the envelope and being progressive is something that I enjoy doing. Like I said earlier, this is, to me, a consumer industry, and I want to give the consumers the best service possible. And, that's why, going back to the 4%, I'm able to help them. When I created that, one of the unintended consequences was I actually have had more people contact me that were unable to initially afford the 6% just because of their mortgage was just at that point where they had no margin.
Right.
And now the 4%, they did the math. They call me, we work it out, and now they're able to be mobile and move upwards in terms of buying up in tiers of homes. And so actually increase the liquidity in the market, that service. And that's one thing that I really think that it's cool, because you know what? I want to increase people's options. People that were trapped prior to knowing about the 4%. I'm not the first person to do 4%. A lot of people do 4%. There's some people that do lower. But,
Sure.
It's just the service or whatever that got the advertisement that I did a little differently than these other people. I think it increased the liquidity of the market. I think that only helps people like you, me, builders, everyone, especially the consumer, because it's giving them options.
Yeah.
And that's really cool about what you said. Sorry to kind of like hop in there.
No worries, man, dude. This is a conversation, not a dissertation. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, we're just shooting the shit, for lack of a better term. So we're already 13 minutes into this thing, and I haven't even announced that we're doing a podcast. So everybody, welcome back.
We kind of just rolled into it.
Dude, we did, man. And I got to be honest, it's good shit. It's good stuff. Sorry, I'm going to have to label this one explicit. So welcome back to another episode of the Big B Mortgage Podcast. Today, my awesome special guest is, honestly, dude, you're going to have to help me with the last name.
Tony the Realtor.
Tony the Realtor. Okay, that's what we're going with.
But for the legalese, Tony Vieta, EXP Realty.
There you go.
LLC.
There it is. But everybody on the planet down here knows him as Tony the Realtor. This guy's doing a lot of great things with the social media. Obviously, you heard him just now talk about his 4%. His 4% plan on helping buyers or helping people with listings stay more mobile going into it. Sorry, folks, it's early in the morning and my coffee is fully kicked in. So, Tony, first off, thanks for taking time to come on and sit in the chair with me, man.
Yeah, this is awesome. I mean, like, we were just talking about being progressive. I mean, no one else is doing this. When I saw the ad, I said, I got to reach out to you because, I mean, hey, if it's cutting edge and it helps me, it helps my clients, I want to be a part of it.
Dude, and plus that, man, you just get to hang out and drink some, in this case, some coffee.
Yeah, I'm drinking some good coffee right now.
There you go. So we only purchase the best K-Cups at my office.
Hey, he's got the flavored creamer too, and not the powdered stuff.
Come on, see, dude, we don't roll like that, baby. Come on. Hey, so Tony, before we jump back into that ass conversation that we were doing, what I always like to do is learn more about the guest, right?
Okay.
So, like, I know I've seen your social media stuff. I think it's awesome. I love what you're doing with the videos. But, dude, how in the world did you get into real estate? Like, was real estate like your first sales job, or?
I've always been a salesman. Ever since I was little, I remember my father would kind of instill in me kind of like a kind of business sense. He's a well-known attorney here in McAllen. I've learned a lot from him. I continue to learn a lot from him. But I've always had that mindset, whether it's just kind of genetic or whatever. Actually, I was discussing this with my girlfriend about maybe a week ago. I said, thinking back, almost maybe only one of my jobs has ever been an hourly wage job.
Right.
Everything else has been commission-based, waiter, salesman, things like that. And it's interesting because I can't think of any other way to just it's pure hustle
To exist.
I mean, it's just such a thrilling way of living on the edge of life where you can win you can go and make as much as you want, or you can make nothing.
Yeah.
And it's all up to you. It's not up to someone else, deciding, hey, this is how much you can make an hour, things like that. And of course, there's nothing wrong with those kind of jobs. It's just not for me. Someone that, I drive my motivation from, the possibilities of what if.
Yeah.
And so I did get into real estate about 5 years ago. I came in under Century 21. Rosanna Muniz was my broker and mentor. She, big shout out to her. She's a great person in the industry. She gave me a great starting base because, you know what, I'll tell you, the very first day I was there as a realtor, I remember sitting at the desk, clear desk, of course. I came in and a phone, and I sit there, the doors close, and I say, what did I do? What have I done? You know what I mean? Because there's just crickets. The phone's not ringing. I'm just sitting there, just like, okay. I mean, the license only gives you. I tell people, new realtors, there are people studying. I said, license gives you just enough rope to hang yourself. I mean, you walk out of there, you're a realtor, but I mean, you don't know the first thing about getting clients. You can say the vocabulary, but it's piecing together in the sentences that you're going to have to learn out there. And so if it's finding a mentor is so important. And, big shout out to her. There's been a lot of other mentors, but that was definitely her. Fabricio Tijerina, Roy Sawyer at Century 21 were really the base of a lot of things. And it's interesting that now 5 years later, Grace Montalvo, who was also a realtor there, she has her own brokerage. So, Juan Elizondo, it spawned a lot of big players, I feel, in the industry. So I got to work around them, bounce ideas off them, and it was a very enlightening time. So yeah, that's how I got into it, just short and simple.
Nice.
Kind of just lucked into it, and so it's just kind of God's plan. Things happen for a reason,
right?
And it was something that actually. At the time, probably I don't know where I'd be right now if I was in real estate. I have an English and philosophy degree. So yeah, so I mean, there really wasn't much other than being a teacher or going into like a law field, and I really wasn't keen on that. So like, I love sales though.
So you didn't want to follow Dad. You didn't want to follow Dad's footsteps?
I can't. I have. Yeah, it's real estate is such a liberating profession. I'm sitting here with you right now, drinking this coffee on this podcast. In about maybe an hour, I'll be in a different city, looking at a home.
Right.
It's meeting with someone. So it's such a beautiful life because you never know what's going to be
around the corner.
It's like Pawn Stars. You said you never know what's going to walk in. You never know what's going to walk in that door, and it's true because that next call you get could be that $1 million call.
Right.
And there's just a certain thrill of that, or it's just almost like you just want to keep playing, and I think that's what drives people like me with those kind of personality types to this profession, and that's good because I feel like I'm meant for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wholeheartedly agree. Like, other than working for my father, there was only one other period in my life, which was like a year and a half long, where I was on what you would call like the salary plus bonus, right? And coincidentally, it was the hardest time of my life because I had been on commissions so long and I had rode that wave.
Yeah.
To where when I was doing this, and it was like I was doing, and it seemed like I was doing so much more work, right? And I'm sitting here and I'm like, dude, I could be making blank doing the exact same thing if I was back on commission structure. So I did that salary thing for like a year because that was like my contract. And then I got right out of it and went straight back into commissions and never looked back. But it also, doing that, gave me a greater appreciation for the way my compensation gets structured and living on that edge like you talked about, you know, because you have to stay focused. You have to be on the hustle. Otherwise, dude, you don't eat.
Yeah.
You gotta be on the hustle.
And you know, I mean, shout out to the people that maybe never hit that spot, but you know, you hit that spot a couple times, you learn, and you know, it takes, like I said, it takes a certain kind of person to deal with this kind of lifestyle
too. Yeah,
because it's a lot different. But you know, going back to the salary thing, I think one of the things I didn't like about it was that everything seemed predetermined to me that day.
Right.
You know, you wake up, you're on salary, and it's just like, okay, well, you're gonna make your $200 today.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's it.
And that's it. Yeah. So to me, commission based structures, and I tell this to everyone, including my clients when I'm signing it up. I say it's the purest form I feel of like of compensation, because it encourages you inherently, built into the agreement. It encourages you to work to the best of your ability. I tell my clients, you know, based on my commission structure, if I can sell your home for $1 million, I will sell your home for $1 million.
Right.
But unfortunately, it's only worth $150. You know, like, it's only in my best interest. So I'm not trying to just make a quick sale. I'm not that kind of realtor. I try and, you know, I always sit down and ask, okay, what's your time frame that we can work with, and at least we'll test the market, because you know, nowadays, and going back to the difference in real estate then and now, is that we have so much more, or at least I do through my programs and stuff like that, access to metrics, clicks, views, how long they're viewing the video. You know, Facebook advertising, the manager.
Isn't it crazy?
It is. It's
analytics that you can break down just on Facebook itself when you really get into it.
I had a one of these videos that said, you're very big. It's very popular with men aged 18 to 24 or something like that. And you get these weird, it's creepy. Yeah. Cause this is like this.
You're like a big muscular dude, right?
And it says, okay, but you know what? I mean, it's really a good, you know, it's interesting because it's all data you can use to better serve your clients and see what's targeting, you know, I mean, it's so amazing. And yeah, going to the metrics and using those now, it's so empowering, because you're able to go ahead and find out what's working. So if a client says, well, I got a year, we can maybe price it a little bit higher up, work it down based on the metric. I tell people one thing now with Facebook and all this ways of advertising. I said, there's one thing I can almost guarantee you: nothing's guaranteeable in real estate. 99.9% though, I could say your house will be seen. Visibility is not an issue. Right. The way you can pump the money into Facebook, and I'm very big on boosting ads and running ads on properties, because if you're not doing that, if you're just putting a link and putting in La Pugla, you're not doing the full service, in my opinion, to the client, because Facebook nowadays is the third arm. Yeah, I mean, people check Facebook before they brush their teeth. Yeah, I know. I'm guilty of that.
I did this morning.
So,
because we had my episodes launch every Friday, right?
Okay.
So yeah, like the first thing I do when, like, I'm still sleepy, no coffee, and I'm checking Facebook.
Yeah.
Like, okay, did it go out? You know, and yeah. So I completely get that. And honestly, dude, going to that boosting thing, I think that is awesome, right? Because what did we do prior? We did print ads. We did newspaper. I still see people doing billboards, right? Like along the highway. And that stuff's expensive, bro. But like with Facebook, like honestly, you can spend as little as $20 to boost your ad, and you get to decide what zip code and the demographics and the whole 9 yards. It's creepy, but it's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it, man. I
mean, actually, not creepy. It's useful. It's rather amazing, and it's very useful, because you know what? You're getting the information to people that want it.
Right.
These are people that are looking for that service, and you're able to make that connection straight to them. So it's really it's amazing service. Now, I'm sure, I don't know how current you are with the news. Their
data breach.
Yeah, that data breach. They say, I don't know how that's going to be changing in the future. That's I'm big on Facebook for my platform of advertising. I don't know what's going to happen in the future because they're going to start cracking down on ads, it seems. But right now, there's just so much information.
Here's the thing, dude, and this is just my uneducated, humble opinion. They're so much smarter than we are. They've got algorithms, and they've got programs. They're already running it. They've known about, in my opinion, they've known about this. Because look, think about it. The news is always the last thing, right? The press release is always after the fact. Mm-hmm. Dude, they've been addressing this already, in my opinion. Like, they've already been putting everything in place of what they're going to do to crack down or to button up. Zuckerberg's not dumb, right? And he doesn't work with dumb people. So I haven't seen any kind of slowdown in mine, and I don't foresee mine slowing down. I don't think people are going to automatically, you're going to have a small population that are going to jump off, or they're going to, it's going to be an excuse to go, what is this new one that's been popping up?
There's another social media?
There's a new social media thing called Vero. Or for us down south is Vero.
Vero, yeah.
Yeah, and whatever. Like, dude, I'm still trying to figure out freaking Snapchat. Like, and I was talking to a LO yesterday, and because I know Twitter, I know Instagram, I know Facebook. I'm old. I'm a dinosaur, right? I'm 43.
That's pretty good, though.
He's telling me, he's like, oh, yeah, man, I'm on Snapchat. I'm on this. I'm on that. I'm like, how the heck are you using all this stuff? Like, so, yeah. I will tell you the one that I do use in order to uniform post to everywhere in one spot at one time is Hootsuite. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
All right, so after the podcast, I'll show you Hootsuite, dude.
Okay.
It's gonna help you out.
Awesome. Well,
but
yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing, dude. Like, things keep popping up. So going back to Facebook, I don't know, man. Like, I just don't think it's that big of a situation. I think they're gonna make it pretty big, but.
So I've got a question just to jump into another subject.
Sure.
How did you come to this idea? Because I do the Real Deal videos, and I have been thinking about it since last year. I just never got around to them. Mm-hmm. About the same time that I did the first one and had it processing, you did your very first podcast. And
really?
It's really interesting, and it's cool. It's always a good feeling when you see someone doing something that you were going to take a chance on. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, you did it before me, so I'll give you before I saw that. You did it before me, at least. So I was like, oh, man, he beat me to the punch, so to speak. But it feels good. So I'm wondering, how did you get to this point? Because, I mean, it's awesome.
So prior to the current role that I serve for Movement, I was in the world of recruiting for 7-ish years, about, more or less. And the thing about recruiting in the mortgage business, it's extremely cutthroat. It's very, very relationship driven. Long story short, a lot of people knew me as Bobby the Recruiter. So in recruiters, I mean, God bless you guys. I love y'all because I was you, but they're not always the most popular people, right? They're the ones that are calling the LOs like 20 times a day and spamming their emails.
Okay. I see what you're saying.
So anyway, as my role evolved and my career changed, I was looking for a way to kind of branch out and further harness and build relationships. Because as you know, dude, sales is all relationship driven.
Yes.
Anyway, right? But you got to get people to actually talk to you first. So anyway, I was actually listening to a podcast. So I subscribe to Grant Cardone. I'm a big Grant Cardone fan. I've read his books, love his stuff. And then I also I found Gary Vaynerchuk for the first time.
Okay, Gary V.
Yeah, man. And that dude just took it up another level, right? Like, I mean, that dude's doing the podcast. He's doing the web videos. He's doing everything, right? So I'm listening to a Gary V podcast one day, like driving around the valley because I was down on one of my trips. And he was doing an interview with like a group of like interns or something, to where they were asking him questions and he was answering them. And so one of the guys asked him, like, hey, man, how can I build my circle of influence being as I have 0 contacts? Right? Now, I don't have 0 contacts. I have a ton of contacts. But this guy had 0 contacts. Gary's answer was start a podcast. Start a podcast. Why? Because you will be able to meet people that are in the areas that you want to be.
Yeah, you have a platform.
Right. And it's not about how many people listen to your podcast. Don't focus on you didn't get more than 20,000 likes or whatever. Just start the podcast, learn their story, learn about them, and share their story or share their experience on your podcast. And so I'm driving. Dude, I literally almost swerved off the road. I was like, oh, my God, that's it.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm going to start a freaking podcast.
I may not, I have met you before, but I may have never talked to you again if it wasn't for this podcast that caused me to reach out and say, hey, let's meet up over this.
Right. And so
Wow.
here's where it gets funky. So that was, let's call it June of last year. I got really fired up about it. And I was like, dude, I'm going to start a podcast. And then, as happens sometimes, your mind kicks in. And you go from all the positive what ifs to all the negative what ifs. Like, well, dude, you sound like crap on recording. Dude, nobody's going to want to listen to your shit. Nobody's this, nobody's that. And so I started talking myself out of it, right? Thing is that the idea kept popping back in my head.
Yeah, that was like the same kind of trajectory as me.
Yeah. So I started getting the equipment. I started doing a ton of research. God bless Google, dude. Like, Google and YouTube launched this podcast. And because everything's there, right?
Yeah.
And so,
well, except how firearm how-to videos as of like yesterday.
There's no more firearms.
You can they're banning those. You can't show people how to shoot guns on YouTube now. It's just
wow.
Sorry,
okay.
I'll get off my soapbox before I start ranting.
Dude. No, but so I started doing the research, started actually recording episodes.
Okay.
And then 6 months later, I released the first one.
Oh, wow.
So I had episodes recorded, like, and held for
You're
3
like
months.
one of those musicians that they have like 1,000 songs in their vault.
Yeah, but they're scared to release them.
Yeah, they're gonna wait till they pass.
Yeah, and then you can listen to it.
Long live Bobby, though.
There you go. No, but I mean, and that was the thing. Like, January rolled around, which is when I released the first one, and I finally just said, you know what, it's time to grab your cojones and do this thing, right? Because I mean, I was already paying the money for the site. I was already doing all this stuff. It was just I was too chicken to push.
You
it
just
out.
got to jump in.
Yeah. So what I did is I recorded a couple of really corny, silly videos, like one with a guy in Laredo and then one with Rick. And I pushed those out first to just get used to people picking on me or making fun of me or the negative press that you could get. And I didn't get any.
Yeah, no, people.
And then that's when it was like, oh, okay, now I can do the podcast now. And I've been doing it ever since. So literally, dude, I have enough content scheduled to go out through May.
That's awesome. And you know what? I mean, it's all about jumping in. I'm going to get you on the real deal right now. There's a little transition. We're working on getting the production to where I want it to be at. But, I'm actively looking for buyer's agents. And one of the things that I would tell them, I was just thinking about that right now, is that, like, if I was to get one right now, I'd say you just need to start doing videos. You need to start doing cold calls. You need to start doing all the stuff that scares you. If I could talk to myself 5 years ago, I'd tell myself that stuff that scares you, you need to do it, because it's the fear of the unknown, and eventually you can get good at it, and that's how you're gonna make the money. Because if you're worried about it, the way you're gonna be perceived and stuff like that, there's not the industry for you.
No.
Obviously you got to hold yourself to a high standard or a certain standard. I mean, you can't. You gotta look the part. I mean, people aren't gonna want to make their biggest life purchase if they don't feel comfortable with you. So you got to keep that in mind. But I mean, you gotta be yourself, and just putting yourself out there, and in a genuine way. That's what it's about. So I would tell them you got to just start doing these Facebook videos, lives, everything like that. These podcasts, because that's what it's about.
Well, and that's now
It's
now
a
that I
cult
did
of
this,
personality.
Well, and that's the thing though. But now that I did it, because here's the thing, dude, I've been in sales for 20 freaking years. You would think it would be like, no big deal. Like just jump in and do it, right? But now that I've done it, now I'm jumping into everything. So now it's like, okay, I got a whole new set of huevos.
Well, we're gonna take it to the next level sooner than later when I get you on the real deal.
There you go. Well, and so one of the points you made about
4K video, baby.
Facing the fear, dude. My boss last night, we were texting back and forth, and he made a comment to me. You got to run to the roar, and he was like, Google that. Google run to the roar. I was like, I'd never heard it, right? So I Googled it, and there's like videos and stuff of people talking about running to the roar, like facing the lion, right? And then so now there's a book that I'm going to be downloading today called Chase the Lion. And I listened to a sample of it last night, and it sounds like it's going to be a really great book. And it's all about facing your fear. And this is something I tell my loan officers. Look, if your goals don't scare you, they're too damn small, right? They got to make you equally excited and nervous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Otherwise, it's not really a goal. Like, why are you?
Yeah.
Like, why do we want to live life to play safe?
I recently I've been trying to like hone my philosophy, and I'm like, this is kind of like a rough one right now. I like living on that edge, right where you might just like fall over the cliff. Yeah. If that makes sense. I mean, doing things that are new to you, new experiences, things like that. I've never done a podcast like this, so I mean, it's a new experience. You get that little adrenaline, and things like that. So I like to live on that kind of that crust of life, and so it's doing those things that
scare you.
that are not natural,
right?
And then you find out that the only reason that you were scared is because you didn't know what was going to happen.
You got in your own head, dude. Yeah, that's the thing. And so, like another book I read about kind of getting out of your own mind is the 5-second rule. Have you read that one?
Is that about dropping food?
No. No, but I do use it.
I think I got the summary then.
No, but yeah, like it's just literally like when you have an idea, count down from 5 and then act.
Okay.
The biggest inhibitor of success is procrastination, in my opinion. You know what I mean? And so that's why. And of course, I tell you this after it took me 6 months to release my first episode. So. Well,
hey, now you got the momentum. You're rocking and rolling. I don't know how many you have. 30, 40 of these.
25.
25?
25.
Then you're going to be able to do the best of book, and I hope I get a call and you say, Tony, I got a chapter all for what you said.
There is going to be a book, right?
There has to be now.
There is. It's going to be called Tales from the Chair. I've already done the title. Like my wife's going to help me write it. I'm going to take and give like breakdowns on each of my on my favorite guests. Now, here's the thing, though. I'm not doing it so that I can make money off of selling books. There's actually a cause that I'm very passionate about called Samaritan's Feet. And we're actually going to start raising money.
That's a win-win.
Yeah. And so what I want to do is if I can actually get people to buy this book, I'm going to take all that money and donate it to be able to give away shoes to children in need. So
that's what it's all about. It's all about helping people. It's a service industry, and that's like a double win for me as far as I'm looking at it for you. Yeah. I mean, you help a cause, and then you're also helping people out with information. Distilling these podcasts into like little sound bites or readable, digestible bits of information. Mm-hmm. I think that's great. I mean, that's awesome. That's what it's all about. And again, thank you for this podcast. I think my coffee's running out.
Uh-oh.
So.
Well, so real quick before we wrap, though, man, tell me about the videos you do. Tell me about what is it called again?
Okay, now they're called The Real Deal.
The Real Deal.
The Real Deal is news, views, and RGV events, real estate events. Now, what it is that the way it started is that it's a video series. It comes out weekly. I think we're at episode 6 or 7. We skipped this week right now to go ahead and take care of some production issues. But basically what it is I have people in the community that are related to real estate in the Valley.
Right.
Now, the very first one, that very first episode, I had Tim Wilkins, which was running for Commissioner 1 in McAllen. Which is actually, a very important position. They help determine taxes and things like that, spending their money, property values, things like that. So I tied it in like that. I've had, William Esquivel of Goals Financial. But what they're targeted videos. So it's a little bit different than like this podcast where it's more stream of consciousness, a little bit more targeted. It's still free spirited, no script or anything like that. But they're meant to be informational videos, like little nuggets that my goal in my head is that I would want everyone to want to watch it, even other realtors, because we're going to talk about stuff that no one knows about.
Right.
So, I'm going to have this one with an attorney that she's going to be talking about the eviction process. This is an actual attorney, and I'm setting the video up, nice video, audio equipment. Yourself is not cheap to set up.
No.
This is actually like if someone were to go and get, of course, she's not giving them an actual legal advice. The disclaimer will be there, but this is giving someone almost a free consultation that might be in that situation.
Right.
And so I want people to understand and say, hey, this new video came out. I want to see it because it's going to be something that's going to be cool, something that's going to be new information to them. Right. There's that, someone told me about that USDA loan. Mm-hmm. That's going to be one that I have on the table for someone to film. Because, a lot of people don't know that you can buy homes for 0% down under the USDA loan program.
Yeah, exactly.
And so and as a realtor, when I heard about that, I said, wow, I'd want to learn more. So, I want everyone to be able to want to watch this video because it's going to leave them with something, impart them with some knowledge. And then, of course, establish the person that's giving the knowledge is someone reputable and they can contact them. And then I can help facilitate the conversation. And again, it goes back to giving the platform where you can go ahead and make these contacts and reach out to the community, which is really a driving force in what I do, is helping the community. I'm very for people, and that's, again, going back to the 4%. I was shaving a little bit so I could go ahead and help people that were on the margin or people that were thinking about that they couldn't afford a realtor, helping them out. And, that's the best thing, when you help someone sell a home. I have recently helped this lady sell her home that was going to be on foreclosure. It was just underwater, almost just at the point. Mm-hmm. She was able to sell it without having to go to short sale because it was a 4%. So being help these people and stuff like that, that's what it's all about. And, giving this information, this is why I do it. Dude, and I think awesome. That's what it's about. That's what drives me.
That's awesome though, dude, because it's in a lot of what I read today, right, about success and building business and stuff like that, it talks about your why. Mm-hmm. Like, what is your why? You need a bigger why. Is your why bigger than you? And I think it's great when I can talk to guys like you who that's pretty damn apparent. Mm-hmm. Your why is bigger than yourself. It's not just about, bling bling, pinky ring, daddy's rolling in a Benz, man. You're mm-hmm. you're out there, you're working with the community and you're helping people. So
yeah, and it goes and just I guess not to run on too long. It's just it goes to I've seen it and it's cool because there's a lot of these areas like San Juan, Alamo that and shout out to Rick Benavides, respect to him because I know he's very heavy over there. I've seen in the 5 years I've seen like a thawing in these kind of the ways that these people are. Let's face it, a lot of these old school people, and I'll just say old school, older generation, are very wary about realtors. And these people that, because everyone has a realtor story, the older generation. And it's cool because, helping these people, helping them understand with education and being out there proactively, giving them information, I think is helping to turn the shift in attitude towards them. And it's cool because you're helping your area. And, you're having now people from the UTRGV, now the medical school, they're staying here. And now they're the second generation, they're selling their parents' home, stuff like that. So, it's cool. It's all about building the community. So, thank you again for having me on here. This is great. Yeah, and I can't wait to have you on there. And Absolutely. I can't wait to see what you're going to talk about because it's definitely something we'll get 3, 4, 5,000 views at least.
We're just gonna talk smack, dude, on my episode. That's it.
Okay. Well, that's gonna be. Hey, they're gonna get to see you too. So that's gonna be 4K video. We're gonna set it up. It's gonna be top notch.
All the blemishes are gonna come out, man.
We got the powder room.
Hey, so quick question, man. While we wrap up, how do people find you? Don't give out your cell phone number, but how do people find you?
Okay, if you're trying to find me, www.tony.realtor. That'll help connect you to me, and you can start your home search online. It's a great resource. You can also go to www.sellitfor4 and 4 is the number.com to learn more about my full service sales package that includes drone, video, commercial, online marketing, my personal marketing, online syndication on over 100 websites, open houses. You can learn more about that. I'm EXP Realty, so you can look me up through there also. And I'm here in the valley. I service Hidalgo County, so just look me up, and I'll give Bobby here my Facebook link, so you can find me that way as well.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks again for taking time to sit in the chair, dude.
Well, thank you for the coffee.
Hey, you're welcome, bro. There's more where that came from, man. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Big B Mortgage Podcast. If you did, make sure you give us a like, give us a share, leave some comments. But for God's sake, people, just stay social, man. Talk to y'all later. Bye.